welcome everybody. I'm just going to hurry and quickly introduce our hosts. So I'm Celeste, I'm from Dallas, and I'm here with Terry Wilson and also with John Brailsford. And our amazing guest tonight is Sherry Braithwaite. And she has got a lot to share with us, and she runs a great private group on Facebook, and it's going to be good. We're going to have a great show. We're going to start out with learning a little bit about her, and then we will move into the topic like John said. If you're new here, again, as John said, keep your audios and videos off. All right. Okay. So we're going to open up with just learning a little bit about you, Sherry. Why don't you just tell us about, like, where you were raised, if you're a convert, just a little bit about your background, just so we can get to know you.
Okay. I was raised in South Jordan. I was born in Payson, Utah, and raised in South Jordan, went to Bingham High School. I've been a member of the church my whole life. I served a mission when I was 22, and I served in Detroit, Michigan. I lived in San Diego for 12 years after high school, and I have a daughter who, perfect timing, just entered. It's always perfect timing for her. She makes her debut on my video sometimes. Let's see. I own 3 businesses, but I don't know what else to say about me. I have this private Facebook group. It is not just for Latter-day Saint Christians, it's for all Christians. And it has, the people that are in it are middle-aged singles and influencers. So in that group, we have public speakers and life coaches and therapists, and we have a college professor in there, and even a filmmaker. Anyway, we just have a bunch of people, kind of compilation of a bunch of influencers, and it's all for the singles. All of the stuff, the reasons that they're in there is to help support us. So,
right,
thriving singles community. But they are screened. People are screened. The people that are in it are people who are doing work for bettering their lives. They have to be interested in being coached.
So the reason, everybody, that I reached out to Sherry is because, as you guys know on the podcast, we're all about singles. We're trying to kind of do a grassroots thing to reach out to people who, right now, we don't have a lot of support in other areas. So Sherry is very much like that. Though she includes all Christian singles, she does a great job with reaching out and supporting and trying to do whatever she can to help the LDS singles as well. And so that's why we have her on. She has got a great message to share. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your companies first before we get into the message? Or
well, probably, because that does tell you what my message is. It tells you who I am and what I'm doing and why. So first of all, I have a business I started in 2020 when everyone was going home and working from home. And the business I started is Sherry K Consulting, LLC. In my past history of employment is an executive secretary for regional directors in the hospital. And then also I was an office manager for a therapy office. And so I was able to grow their business and have the experience that I did in working, a lot of it working from home. So all the skills that I gained with that, I said, heck, I'm just gonna start a business doing this. So I support therapists and life coaches and office managers on setting up their businesses online. That's the first one. Okay. And because of that has helped me to get to build a really strong network of these therapists and life coaches. And that has been, that's kind of was my first step in this amazing group of people. I just want to be able to help them to expand their influence. That's kind of what I'm about, is connecting, I would say, bottom line. And then the other business is the Dating Olympics, LLC. I did the Dating Olympics 26 years ago when I lived in San Diego. I was just in a singles ward, and it was around, 1996. It was Olympics, and we thought it would be fun to make dating fun by making it a competition. And for doing that, we had a handful of rules, maybe 5 rules. where they would earn points for asking on dates and points for accepting dates, and they would get points for group dates. I mean, there's actually a little bit of dating science in it as well. The motivations that we want to help them to overcome their fears, really.
Right.
So, and it's kind of like, it's just gamification is really what it's kind of turning into be. So yeah, 26 years later, and I hate dating. I'll be honest with you. And I just thought it'd be fun. I mean, thought it'd be good to make it fun. And so I wanted to start this, and I thought, really, I could do this as a business. So that's where it's going. And that community that I have, the Thriving Singles community, is what I've kind of said it a little bit about. I'm in the group here and there, but I feel like we're kind of in the preliminary stages right now, and if we were to compare to Olympics. In that, I post, we do different courses. I have these videos with therapists and life coaches and whatever, public speakers, and we teach different principles that just help with whatever we need at this time. And there's a handful of things we could come up with that we as singles need right now. So that's kind of what that is. And so it is eventually the ultimate goal, I guess the end goal of the Dating Olympics will be a compilation of all of it. It would have public speakers, and it would have the 2 weeks of in-person dating competition. That's where we get the points. And then the rewards are, no less than $500 for the gold, and maybe $300 for silver, and then also it would be. I have a cousin he works in. He has an organization where they do like rope courses and stuff up in the high Uintas, and he said, let's do that for part of the reward too. So there's just a bunch of things that we're putting together for the rewards and the fun that adds to it. So cool. And it'd be 5 weeks.
With inflation the way it is right now, I think we're gonna have to make it $550, or I'm not even interested.
Okay, let's do it.
And I'm thinking you have like a
gas to get there.
Like yeah, and tomorrow it'll have to be $555.
Yeah, like a bonus 50 points if you get a kiss at the end of the night of the date.
Yes.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. Whole tank of gas.
That's worth $55 right there.
I'm thinking about Taco Truck and get some gas for my car.
Right.
Yes. So yeah, anyway, it is in the works. It's going to be, it's a huge project that I put together, but with the people that I'm working with right now, they're all big dreamers, and they have big aspirations. I'm actually working with, I mentioned the filmmaker that's in our group. He has offered to help me with the promotion of it. So, I mean, it's just stuff like that keeps kind of falling into place with it. So anyway.
And I love that it's kind of like a grassroots thing. I like how you've got this whole thing in the works, and it sounds amazing. So,
and it takes a village, to be honest. I mean, I run a Facebook page too, and I love seeing it trickle in other areas. I mean, it really does take a village.
Yeah, I agree.
Terry, I'm so glad you said that, Terry, because that's exactly how I feel. I feel like everyone in there has something to offer.
Yeah.
I mean, even people that would just consider themselves the singles that aren't the influencers, they're influencing as much as anyone. Sharing their stories. It's just it's a smorgasbord of options and opportunities to learn right now, and to have that support. I love that there are so many people out there doing this stuff, and it's kind of fun to put it all together and share it all.
And it helps the people who are just starting to go through maybe our journey that we've already, crossed that path. Yeah. It helps them to realize that, they're not alone. Everybody went through some sort of, crap or phase that you didn't really necessarily enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. And even if they've never been married, and like a lot of us have been divorced, and that's traumatic. But if you're in this church at our age and you've never been married, I think is just as traumatic. Yeah. I think there's still broken hearts, there's broken relationships, and there's broken dreams there as well. So I think that as we come together as singles and just unite, like lift where we stand, right? That old talk from, I don't even know how many conferences ago. Mm-hmm. Lift where you stand, right? Like where you're at, lift those around you. Yeah. And I feel like we have got a good group here of people who are trying to reach out and connect to those who might feel lonely, who might feel like they have no one to turn to for support. So yeah. is a good group. And we thank you, Sherry, for your part in that. And that's why when I realized what you were doing, I reached out and wanted to get you here on the show. So, okay. So your topic for tonight is helping us as singles go from coping from whatever we've gone through, the challenges, divorce, singlehood, parent, have no kids, whatever the situation is, to thriving in our life. And that's essential, right? We don't want to stay coping every single day. So why don't you just give us a rundown really quick of the topic, and then we'll start where it is you want us to begin.
Okay. There are things that we all know, and there are things that we all don't know, and each of us things that we don't know that we don't know. Yeah. So that's what I love about just our group. I don't even look at any group as in any better than another, because I learn as much from you as I'm able to teach you. So I just love how we are able to, each of us come from different places. So when I teach these things, I always hesitate to, I just hope I don't ever come across as saying, I know all the answers. I'm just going to share with you my personal experiences. But yeah, I don't have the answers. Anyway, I have, I'm not going to look at the chat because that's going to distract me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just minimize it.
The truth is, we have a very lively
attention
chat.
to the man behind the curtain.
Yes.
That's right.
It applies here as well.
I'm kind of chatty tonight.
They will try to throw stuff in there to knock you off your course too, and then they're like, "Oh, I totally got you to react." So yeah, it might be good just to.
I do that to Celeste all the time.
That's awesome. So okay, I can just tell you where I was, and I would guess it to be about 10 years ago, and I was married and in a place of, I was very discouraged all the time. I was a victim. I was always convinced that my husband was to blame for all of our marital problems. And I was stuck in that. I was stuck in wanting to seek validation from people. And I was validated by anyone that would hear my story. They all validated me. And they all said, you have the right to feel the way that you feel. And so I was stuck there for a little bit. And that's when I was kind of the perspective, I guess, that I had at that time is just kind of, the coping, like from day to day. And it was, I didn't see a better way. I didn't see myself as capable in doing certain things that I wanted to do. But in order for me to progress, the very first step for me was self-compassion. It was seeing myself as a valuable person that has feelings, and I'm able to have personal boundaries, and I'm able to speak up for myself. That actually happened when I saw in my daughter someone, it wasn't her dad, just so you know, someone was mistreating her. And I jumped in to intervene and stood up for her. And I said, is it okay for people to treat you like that? And anyway, I just talked to her about that too. And it's not okay. And then it just occurred to me, that was the first thing for me, the first moment in probably all of my life when I felt like, so why I'm giving compassion to my daughter, why can't I do that to myself? Why can't I see myself as valuable enough to have that compassion, self-acceptance? And so just that was the very first step. And then my first step in healing came when I stopped seeking validation. I stopped seeking for other people to say, you have a right to feel the way that you feel. I had to do that for myself, because anyone who would say that you would think would be not compassionate. But for myself, I had to say that I am, okay, so maybe I am validated in some of these, but now what? And forgiveness. And the bigger piece of that too was, what part of this is mine? I had, if I don't know, go back a little bit on my life story, I was raised by my personal life story. I was raised, my father was an alcoholic and my mother was codependent. And then we hear this all the time, I'm sure. But that just means that my mom, the patterns that I saw were that if everyone is not at peace and everyone is not happy, then we need to control that. And we need to fix it so that we can have peace. If I can't have peace unless everyone in the family is having peace and doing what they need to be doing. And that was obviously, that's what codependence was. So me realizing codependence and me realizing my self-righteousness and controlling, and that it wasn't my husband at the time that was all at fault, that I was 50%. I had, what is my 50%? And so starting to work on me, starting to say, yeah, I don't need to be validated anymore. That's where my healing started. And I was able to, through those experiences, I was able to now I feel like I have the ability to feel peace in the middle of storms.
Right.
I don't know. I haven't been tested too much. I mean, I still feel like I can, but I think like this whole 2 years of the society, everything that's going on around me and around us that we see on the news and everywhere around us, I still feel like my heart is so anchored on hope and on love and on forgiveness and faith and Jesus Christ, that I feel at peace constantly, no matter what is going on around me.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay. You're
Okay,
good.
I was just gonna say, because you've said a whole bunch of things and I really want to hop in. I want to go hop on this one. Good. I love how you're saying that you've figured out that you can be in a solid, calm, peaceful place, even if the world around you is going, crazy, because there always is that, the eye of the storm theory. Like if you are in the middle of the storm and you're safe and quiet and calm and peaceful, like the whole world around you can be in complete and utter chaos, but it's not affecting you because you're on a more solid foundation. You found your own inner peace, even if everybody else around you
Yes.
is not. Now,
Yes.
growing up in the family I grew up in, it sounds similar to yours. Like if someone was upset, we all had to be upset.
Yeah.
If someone was upset, you had to kind of have these steps on how you reacted to them, the things you said. If you didn't have a lot of drama and you're, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's happening to you, whatever. Then they perceived it as you didn't love them, right? Yeah. So when I found my eye of the storm and when I moved back and stepped back and created my own little safe place, they weren't very happy. And that's a hard transition. So if you can find that spot, and
there's a backlash.
Yeah, they almost backlash, like worse. Like they get so mad at you for like, why aren't you doing what you're supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah, and how dare you be healthy?
Yeah, it's actually really hard. So anybody who can find that spot and stay there, I'm like, kudos. I think it's awesome because it's tough. It's a tough.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just going to be honest and a little confession here. That actually is what I think, and what I think my former spouse would also describe as the reason why our marriage ended. He's blaming me for changing so much, and I'm blaming him for not. And maybe it was, the dynamics of our relationship that changed, and it was with personal boundaries. I had never, to that point in all of my life, had personal boundaries. I always thought that personal boundaries meant that it's you're not nice, or I don't know what I thought, but I didn't. In fact, you guys, I didn't even understand the first time I heard the word boundaries. I felt like it was the first time I'd ever heard it in my life. And it was like when I was actually close to the end of my marriage, maybe 3 years to the end. But hearing that, I was like, what in the heck? And how do I set the boundaries? And people would say, sure, you've got to set boundaries. And I was like, well, how do I do that? What does that mean? And I was so oblivious to, I hear it all the time now. I don't know if that's just more common or if I'm just more in tune to it, but definitely hear the term boundaries a lot more than I ever have. Yes.
And one more thing. Okay. So
doesn't have to just,
and then I'll let this go. But you said so many great things. You were saying something about validation, and you said, I wanted to be validated and everyone will validate. But I needed to move beyond that. And I think what it is, I think validation is good, but like you're saying, you can't just want that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that phrase that's kind of been circulating right now. It's like, the Lord loves you exactly how you are.
Yeah.
He also loves you too much to leave you there. And that's kind of that theory. Like, yes, I love you. I validate you. You've been through a lot, but you need to move forward as well. So
Yeah.
anyway, sorry, it took me a while to
Well, it's
drag that on my brain.
it's really tricky in the position that we have as being supportive to others. That's what I would say is I will validate you and to the moon and back, because you have the right to feel the way that you feel. Either party. I even validate my former spouse. I validate him for the pain that he felt. Even though there were times I was blaming him for causing that pain, I validate the pain, whatever it's coming from, whether it's shame or rejection or whatever. Everyone has that validation, but that is not where the healing is. And so that's what I would say to people in supporting them. I would say, yes, and you have every right to feel that way. And I believe that you can heal, and that you can get past that and find out what it is that you can do differently or what you can learn from. I think that's also part of it, of healing and progressing and thriving also, is to see your weaknesses as much as your strengths, and to not let that be shameful. There's no reason to feel so negative about it, just to learn from it. And
I told you we do rabbit holes here, so we're back on course.
No, I love it. Well, something that you said, Celeste, that made me think of the reason why, if someone were to ask me what is the most important concept that you can teach someone, maybe who is newly divorced or who is somehow in a rut, or just newly having this marital loss that is so devastating, I would say the very first step is self-love, self-compassion. And I had mentioned that before. And so I am big on that, on teaching it and supporting it and encouraging that. I think that, I don't know if it's just in the church, you guys, and I don't ever want it to sound like it's negative. I love the church. I love the gospel. I do sometimes feel like there's pressure to be more and do better. And I will just be honest with you, I hate the term. Someone just said it recently, and it just makes me cringe. And I'll tell you why. It's not about finding the right person. It's about being the right person. And I'll tell you the reason why I hate that. And that is because I spent 13 years plus trying to be the right person, trying to hold this marriage together, trying to love someone with all of my heart without condition, and trying, and maybe for the wrong intents, maybe to force them into being him, into loving me or accepting the love or whatever it was. Whatever the motives are, I don't agree with the fact that it's all about you being the right person. And I just don't think that's the answer to a happy marriage, is being the right person.
But we got to really define what be the best person means.
Yes.
And that mean you don't put up with things unconditionally.
Yeah.
You do set boundaries.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of being the right person is, you do have self-compassion.
Yeah.
You do have patience with yourself. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we think of it as, I got to bend over backwards and be self-sacrificing, when in reality, it also includes setting boundaries and just saying, I don't have to offer myself on the altar of perfection to be totally taken advantage of by another human being. That was never required. A better phrase to just say that.
You know what? I think it's a recovering codependent in me that hates it. That's probably what it is. And so running with it to say, so I can see also the importance of being the right person. It's not about me finding someone who's going to serve me in every way and be the magical, man of my dreams, as much as I want to be the woman of his, but I think that might be what they're saying, is don't focus so much on who they are for you. Maybe that's more what it is. But anyway, I just, that just kind of get grind on.
Well, and I do think when we get right, I do think we attract people who are more dreamy for us and fit our lives better and stuff like that. But I think there's better ways to say it for sure.
The thing is with that phrase is there's the opposite side of the coin, right? Yes, we try to be our best and present ourselves, be the best we can be, and to bring to a relationship. But you need to expect that, like John's saying, you need to have boundaries and expectations on the other half. And we also have to keep in mind, and I had to learn this the really hard way. It sounds as if Sherry kind of, me and her walk similar paths, but in all these things, in all these relationships, and no matter how much effort we put forward, everybody has agency.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the Lord will not force, even if I'm given 175% into something, the Lord will not force the other
Right.
half
Yeah.
to follow through. And so we can do all we can. And I think that's a misconception culturally within the church, is that I have enough faith as a wife, as a person, to save this marriage.
Yeah. That's
Truth
where I was.
is
Yeah.
you have enough faith to do
Yeah.
your part to
Yeah.
the max, but the other person still has to be willing
Right.
to follow. So
Yeah.
it's agency. There's two sides to that coin. So
Yeah.
that's my opinion on that.
Oh, I love it. I've also considered myself a recovering perfectionist, and that has had me stuck also for many years. And now that I'm feeling like I feel much more free when I'm not worried about looking good and being right and all of that, where I just am vulnerable. I'm okay to be myself, and I'm okay to anyway be a little embarrassed sometimes, and anyway own it. So I think that's another thing as part of your self-image, is to like not be so stuck in having yourself be perfect
Right.
all the time and looking good.
Yeah.
The very last thing that I definitely wanted to point out is that personal development is not about being perfect. For me, personal development is just being okay with, really a lot of it is being okay with who you are, accepting who you are, and
Mhm.
having that healthy self-image, and being able to have peace in the middle of the storm. And it's all for me, it's all about just living a more peaceful and healthy and productive life. Like let go
Right.
of the expectation of having to do it all. Anyway, so well, that's all, you guys, that those are some of the things. And I had a list of the description of how I was when I was coping and how I feel like I am today, but I don't bore you with those details. But I had, if you guys want, just any questions you guys have for me, I'm up for whatever, maybe.
I think we're good. Good night, everybody. No, I'm just kidding.
What? No.